What the reader is going to take away from reading this book is the ability to make a more informed decision as a member of the electorate in the 2020 election cycle. In case you haven't noticed, the mainstream media has evolved in this information age that we live in to where reporters are in the business of providing entertaining stories and not necessarily the truth. And if you look into it a little closer, you can kind of see that mainstream media is more or less the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. And it's not just me that's saying that. A lot of people in the walk away movement have come to this realization as well. And even the Australian news media has been saying the exact same thing. I am writing this book to provide voters who want to know the truth and they want a more informed, in-depth, and honest view of a candidate running for president. And this is why this book is important. Now, a little bit about me. During the 2016 presidential election, I found that a lot of people didn't know a lot of things about the candidates during the 2016 election. And so I was moved to write a lot of blogs, and I got a lot of exposure and I got a lot of accolades. And I think I made a little bit of a difference. There was a lot of people who ran small PACs during that election cycle who made a little bit of a difference. And I'd like to think that I contributed a little bit to that. So now I'm going to briefly touch on some things that my book is going to explore in a little bit of depth. One of the things is, of course, Joe Biden's previous runs at the presidency. And in fact, some people don't know that in 1988, he had to drop out because he was caught plagiarizing the speeches of other politicians. But I think it was during those runs to the White House that he let his guard down and his true nature kind of came forward when he said things like this. Now, I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but he basically said, "I'm not sure you should assume that I am not corrupt." And he went on and talked about how politicians have to get money from certain interest groups, and sometimes it's just human nature that those interest groups are going to affect the politicians' policies. Now, it is almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy because his son, Hunter Biden, after he graduated from Yale, was hired on at MBNA. Now, MBNA is the country's largest independent credit card company. And so Joe Biden's policies were influenced by that. You can research this on your own, but he started pushing for laws and policies that made it more difficult for people who declare bankruptcy to get out of paying their credit card debt. But that is not the first time the relationship between Joe Biden and his son Hunter would provide great wealth for the Biden family at the expense of the American people. Hunter created a lobbying firm, Odegar, Biden, and Belair, and Joe Biden's political actions aligned with the firm's lobbying clients. Just because something is technically legal, it does not mean it is necessarily ethical. Is it bribery when your son is on a lobbying firm? Is it legal when the Biden family is enriching itself indirectly instead of straight out bribing a politician? When Joe Biden ran for the president in 2008, Hunter Biden started another lobbying firm. This time, it was called Seneca Global Advisors. And clearly this was done so that the Biden name would not be in the title of the lobbying firm. But this new lobbying firm acquired all the same clients as the previous lobbying firm, and it was business as usual. My book will go into all the specifics and details of the lobbying actions. Before I talk about China, the Ukraine, and all the women that Joe Biden had been inappropriate with, to put it mildly, and even the killing of an innocent man, let's briefly talk about the hedge fund that Joe Biden's brother, James, started with Hunter Biden. Paradigm Management Core Alternative was the name of the hedge fund company. Do you remember Madoff? Well, a man named Robert Allen Stanford was second only to Madoff in running a Ponzi scheme from Paradigm Management Core Alternative. He stole $7 billion from clients and is currently serving a 110-year prison term. And my book will go into this in detail. Now, all the scandals I expose are big, but they're big for different reasons. The China scandal is huge. Let's go to 2011 when Joe Biden is now vice president. At this time, Hunter Biden starts Rosemont Capital with his friends Chris Hines, who is stepson of John Kerry, Devin Archer, and Eric Sherwin. Rosemont Capital had three subsidiaries: Rosemont Realty Group, Rosemont Technical Partners, and Rosemont Seneca Partners. Now, my book will discuss how the Chinese company Gemini Investments transferred huge amounts of money into Rosemont Realty Group at a rate of $10 million a pop, and eventually made the Biden and Kerry family filthy rich at a total of about $3 billion. There are many shady deals to mention, like the fact that Devin Archer managed to steal $6 million from a Native American tribe and have the money be funneled through Rosemont Capital. But to focus on Joe Biden, of all the women who he had inappropriately touched and held, no case is worse than the Tara Reade case. This is a particular case that can be described as rape. Now, before I briefly describe the Ukrainian deal, I think it is important to talk about Joe Biden's brother, Frank, and the Albano killing. Frank Biden has been ordered to pay $1 million to the daughters of the man killed, Mr. Albano. Frank Biden was in the passenger seat of a sports car driven by Jason Turton when the man hit Mr. Albano at 80 miles an hour. Turton later testified that he was trying to impress Frank Biden, and Frank was encouraging Turton to drive faster. But here's the deal. Joe Biden is actively trying to hide Frank in order to avoid paying the daughters of the man killed. The Biden family says that Frank does not have the money, but he has the money because of the business deals we can find out about in Costa Rica for a solar energy farm and for a country club development project. So now we come to the Ukrainian Burisma deal. There is something going on here. There is an aid package which earmarked funds for the production of natural gas. And this is the business that Burisma is in. And Hunter Biden gets a six-figure job to sit on the board of Burisma. But there's more to this than just that. Joe Biden got Viktor Shokin fired and replaced by Lyshenko. But there is reason to believe that Shokin was not corrupt and Lyshenko is corrupt. I will do the investigation that Trump wanted to have done on the Ukrainian deals, and I will lay it all out in my book. Now, in the description section of this video, I'll post links to my publisher where you can pre-order this book, and I'll also post a link to the GoFundMe page where you can help fund the investigations required for this book. So please help out because knowledge is power, and we're not getting knowledge from the mainstream media.